one of 6 and you grew up in New Zealand.
Yes.
What was your childhood like there?
It was pretty, from what I remember, because you know, a lot of these people that say I've got an absolute memory of when I was 4 years old, I actually don't remember specifics much because it was a fairly dysfunctional childhood. My father was an alcoholic, so we constantly moved around. I don't remember. I remember some things about some houses, but then I'll mention it to my mum and she'll go, no, that wasn't there, that was somewhere else. So we probably moved about 25 times.
Really?
When I was little, yeah. And well, my dad, because he was an alcoholic, he would change jobs quite frequently.
Right,
so,
okay.
And I was much younger than my brothers and sisters. I was 5 years younger and they were literally a year apart in age.
Right.
So by the time I came along, I was kind of this odd, I looked a bit like Wednesday Addams.
Yeah, right, would walk around with your headless
My
dolls.
headless doll. I had my headless doll. I know. It's weird. I don't know why. Because someone said to me, "Where'd you find it?" I said, "I think I found it somewhere, and it didn't have a head." And I used to imagine what the head would be like, and I because they would try and give me other dolls with heads, and I didn't like.
You didn't like them.
Didn't want the one with the head because I could imagine what the headless one looked like. I was very odd.
Do you think that you went into headless dolls and things like that to escape maybe the reality of being? Because
probably, and I also think I had. I was quite shy, so I didn't have a lot of friends, and because we did move around, I didn't get to establish a lot of friendships. So
right.
I had an imaginary world, and I had pretend friends.
That very
That's
creative
sad.
children.
Makes me sound very sad, but I wasn't that sad.
But really creative kids have imaginary friends. Like
Yeah,
my
I guess
most
so.
creative friends have them, and I'm like, oh, why didn't I get one like that?
No, but you probably had lots of friends when you were growing up. Did you?
Oh no, I could have appreciated having one with me all the time.
Yeah, well, no, that my one stayed with me until we moved to Wellington in New Zealand, and when I was about, I think 10 or 11, and then I went to a primary school where I was able to actually establish some friendships then.
Right.
And I got quite close to a couple of girls, and then went to high school, and it all went downhill from there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's rough, isn't it?
Well, no, I was a brat.
Were
I
you?
was a rebel. Yeah, I know. See, people go, no, you're so nice. I'm like, no, I was a nightmare.
When you were a teenager?
13, 14. Yeah, because I think I was a straight A student from about 10 or 11. I became prefect at my school.
Right.
And then I got to about 14, went to a high school. It was an all-girls school, and I didn't have male attention because my dad was an alcoholic and basically paid little attention to me.
Right.
And so I sort of went, I don't want to study. And because I would come home with these straight A, grades, and my mum was too busy because she was working, and my dad just couldn't give a rat, so what's the point?
So did your parents stay together?
The whole time.
The whole time?
Mum had no choice. I mean, she was trying to raise 6 kids, and he beat her quite severely, quite a lot throughout my childhood. But again, she kind of, she kept us away from it. You know, she'd put us to bed and she'd shut the door, and then he would come home and you'd hear it, but you'd never see it. You'd see the bruises the next day, but we'd never see it. We very rarely witnessed it. In fact, my brothers and sisters probably witnessed it more than I did because I was that much younger.
How did you handle that though? I can't even imagine how a little kid would register going, this is happening out there now.
I was probably shielded from it more than my brothers and sisters. Yeah. I know one of my sisters had to deal with it because quite often she was the only one that would calm my father down. So she would actually Mum would get her out of bed and she'd end up waltzing Dad around the kitchen to calm him down because he would get these violent rages. So as far as I was concerned, I was that much younger. So I think they all wanted to shield me from it, which is why I probably didn't suffer as badly.
Much as they did, because you're super close with your brothers and sisters, aren't you?
Yeah, and my mum too, And then when my dad had a stroke when I was about 10, so he wasn't so violent anymore. In fact, if anything, it got worse because when I was 13 and I'd come home from school, he would have drunk himself into a stupor on the couch, and I'd have to pick him up and help move him to the bedroom, and he'd fall over and sometimes he'd wet himself, and and I'd have to clean that up, and I'd think I can't bring any friends home. I was embarrassed.
Yeah,
and then I got angry. I was like, why can't I have a normal childhood? So that the childhood up until that point was okay, but when I got to my teenage years and I went, I can't even bring my friends home, that's when I got angry.
Yeah, of course.
And that's when I went, what's the point? So I dropped out of school when I was about 15 and a half, 16.
Really?
Yeah, I just went, there's no point, it's stupid.
Is that because you started modelling?
Yeah, I did it was a bit of everything. I worked at a jewellery shop. I was a receptionist at a jewellery shop.
Right.
And my mum, because I was a tomboy, Mum said, why don't you do a modelling course? And I'm like, why? What's wrong with me? And she goes, well, you could do with bit of makeup and maybe wearing something other than floppy T-shirts.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, so I went into a modelling course, and that's when the modelling agent said, would you like to make some money? It wasn't something that I went, oh, I'm pretty, I'm going to go and do it. It was like, well, if I can make some money, that's okay. Never thought I was attractive at all, because I didn't like my face. I didn't like myself. And that carried right through into my teens, into my 20s, into my 30s. I had massive self-loathing, even though I actually discovered that if I can put on a lot of makeup, I can disappear behind that and I can become someone else. And that's what I did.